I want to share more about the wealth simulator. I refer to it in chapter 6 of the Wealth Creation for Coaches book, and it really stems from Dr. Joseph Murphy's The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. Now, my military background, we did do a lot of work in simulators. We had to learn how to fly on a simulator before we went out into the world and actually, tried it with a real plane. We also spent a lot of time learning our emergency procedures so that they would be embodied. If we lost an engine, we needed to know exactly what to do on the first few seconds while our co-pilot was getting the manual out and so that we could follow the procedures appropriately. But that first few seconds are critical. So there was an embodiment, and the simulators really helped with that. It's same with coaching. Now, we don't need emergency procedures, but it does help us with a lot of different things that we can do, especially around creating clients. And so it's an opportunity each morning, kind of tied into your morning ritual. So if you're already meditating, this might be right at the end, or you're adding meditation in. And it's really this opportunity to practice before actually going out in the world. Olympians do it when they're practicing their runs, whether they're skiers or whatever. So why not coaches? So it can be as little as 30 seconds, a few minutes, not too long, because many times if we spend too long, we might get into kind of future fantasizing, which is very different than what we're trying to create. What we want to do is, again, going back to that stair-step approach, we want to look at our next level. What's our next level? And that can be, 10 to 15, 20% more in income. Many people are like, 50 or 100% more, like they want to double their income. Well, again, stair-stepping helps us to grow into it. So look at what's your next level. Are you just wanting a new client? Are you creating a group? Whatever it is that you're working on, and for those of you might have something outside of work that you're working on. Now, for me, I also used it to create an amazing wedding or promotions in corporate. The ability for us to practice it on the inner plane, and that's simply just closing our eyes and getting into the feeling of wealth. What would it feel like to have more wealth? And we have an idea of when we have more. And so we're just tuning into that a little bit more and tweaking that into the stair step. And it can be 30 seconds. It can be a few minutes. It can be in the morning. Nighttime as we drift off to bed is a wonderful time to do it, and any time in between. But really looking at what's our next level. The feeling of wealth is really important. And what neuroscience has proven is kind of activates different parts of our brain that allow us to actually manifest what it is that we're wanting to create. And so I'm going to have you in a few seconds to practice this with me. But again, it can be anything. So start to think of, what is your next level? Is it a new client? Is it more money? Is it a new opportunity, an introduction to something? And this ability for us to kind of identify what we like. We want to set the intention of what we'd like to create and then really practice it. We're going to practice it and kind of visualize it. If you're not more of a visual person, you might hear it, or it's just a feeling, a sense of that next level. And what we're doing once we do that, we're also listening. We're listening for next steps. We're listening for names, ideas, inspired actions. When I was in corporate, it might be create a PowerPoint, or as a coach, it's follow up with this person. I didn't follow up with this person. And so this ability for us to capture those and then take action, super critical to take action. So right now, I just want you to tune into something that you'd like to create, whether it's a new client, a new level of wealth, a new package, a group. With a group, when I'm creating a group, I'm visualizing on Zoom having a screen or two filled. And what would that feel like? Because I have to actually grow into that, whatever that new level, and make it more familiar. That's really what the wealth simulation is. Our brains do not like unfamiliar things. It runs from them. And so the more we can simulate it inside of us and kind of rehearse and practice it, it makes it more familiar such that, oh, I can talk to this person or I can follow up, but we've practiced that. Oh, that wealth is coming in and I can see it. And so right now, just pick one thing that you're trying to create, and usually maybe just one or two at a time. Don't try to hold a whole picture. And we're not just airy-fairy, just so you know, airy-fairy like driving my Ferrari from this. It's not about that. It's really seeing yourself in the process of delivering. So you're in conversation with someone and they say yes. You get an email from a new client and they're like, I would have paid twice this, which has its own good and interesting things. But play with this in a process-oriented way. That also helps it to come into action, that we actually come into resonance with what we are trying to create. We're looking for resonance, that what we are seeking is seeking us, that we can find it from a neuroscience perspective. So close your eyes. And I want you just to imagine wealth. What does the word wealth mean to you? What's your next level for you? For some of you, it might be $50 extra. For some of you, it might be $5,000 extra because you're at a closer to that. You're coming from 2,000. And so it's what's your next level? Do you see a new client, and not necessarily a face, but kind of the energy of somebody saying yes. They're loving your coaching. You're filling a group. So you might be looking for 4 people, 10 people, 50 people, whatever. You're practicing that on an inner plane. And you're really just thinking the word wealth and what would it feel like at that next level? If it feels there's any resistance, back it down. So if you're saying to yourself, I need 5 clients, back that down to 3 clients, 1 client really, because it's always just the next. What would that feel like to see a yes, to see money in your account? And listen for a few seconds on what's that next step? What's that inspired action coming through you? Is it to follow up with someone, to write a new email, to create a new program? Just take a few seconds and just wealth. What would it feel like to have that new client? What would it feel like to see a new client in your calendar and them thrilled with working with you? Or if you're writing a book, what would it look like and feel like to hold that book in your hand? And what's the next step? It's always about that next step. So take a few more seconds. Now bring that to completion and write down any action steps, or just now do it again for yourself. Just close your eyes, feel into the word wealth. It's not I am wealthy. That will cause some resistance inside of us because our ego will come up with whatever reason to say no to that. So it's just the feeling of what would that feel like, that word feel like, to have more money, a new client, whatever. And then listen, and then write down your actions, and then take action. The key is to take action because those are inspired. They're coming from this meditation. So have fun with this, ask questions, let me know how it goes. I'd love to hear from you.